Welcome to the High Performance Man podcast. I'm your host, John Fayocavitz. On this show, I interview successful men who have built impressive careers in businesses, founders, CEOs, and senior leaders, and professionals who have operated at a high level for years. We talk about what actually made them successful. So, our goal is simple to learn directly from men who have done it so we can apply those insights in our own careers, businesses, and lives and continue raising our own standard of performance. Our show is brought to you by the Prime Performance Method. The Prime Performance Method is designed specifically for high performing men who have achieved success in their own careers, but feel like their body and energy have taken a hit along the way. We help busy professional men regain strength, reclaim their energy, and feel younger without long workouts, extreme dieting, or disrupting their demanding schedule. So if you're a high performing man who wants to feel strong and energized as you are successful, message me, John Fayocavitz, on LinkedIn. On today's show, we have Greg Andrade, who is the CCO and CFO of Andrade Artworks Incorporated, where he designs and educates in the art and architectural field. Thank you, Greg, so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
Great. All right. Well, let's get started. What do you believe is the most important lesson you've learned so far that's helped you become successful in your businesses?
I would say, first of all, never say no to anything because you never know. A lot of people anticipate or will have, some kind of mental expectations about what things are and what they're all about. But the truth of the matter is it's almost never what you think, and it's almost never what it's presented as.
Right.
Things are always different. So if you don't just prejudge, if you say yes, you can say yes and then later say no. So you
And
don't
then
have to
change your mind. Right.
yeah, you don't have to say yes and then go, oh, I really made a mistake. Now what am I going to do? Well, you just redirect. But I think that's one of the prime suspects is, I was raised by two, educators, school educators, teachers, and they always taught me to persevere, say yes, fail if you have to, whatever, fail forward, and just know that you have the power to make the change if you need to make a change, and you have the power to do whatever you want to do. So fail here, fail there, it's fine. You learn something and you move on. So
Exactly. And I would say you tell me if I'm wrong, but it's that never quit attitude too.
yeah, no, I mean, people will always tell you, like when I went into teaching, most of my colleagues were like, well, why do you want to do that? You're not going to make any money, and it's a terrible thing and it's no fun. And I said, well, okay, that sounds great for you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I've been loving working with and mentoring students. And so bottom line is, there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people that are going to tell you you can't do something or you shouldn't do something or you know, something won't work out, but you just can't listen. You just have to,
Right.
you have to stick to your guns and find out for yourself. Just like when someone tells you about a movie, oh, the movie was terrible, and then I'll go see it and I'll love it. So it's a very interesting thing to listen to others and their opinions, but I don't take them on.
Okay. Have you been in the art field ever very young? I mean, when you first started?
Oh yeah, I've been making art since kindergarten. I mean, I think I was an artist first, and then discovered architecture as sort of the ultimate art form,
Right.
of an ultimate expression of art. So I've always leaned in heavily into the art side of things. Uh, and I think that's why I ended up at Disney doing theme parks because it was not a serious endeavor. We weren't trying to recreate the meaning of man's existence with each stroke of our pencil type of architecture. It was like this
Wow.
is fun, playful, crazy stuff, and it makes people smile. There's nothing wrong with that, and so that's why I spent so much time doing theme park design because it was just a joyful experience of making it and watching people explore it.
Man, that must have been super interesting out there. I mean, working with Disney.
Yeah, it was basically a master's degree in itself of learning how to create from story, how to make places and events and experiences and rides and attractions based on story. And I actually have a book I just finished. It's going to get published in the next few months called Design is Story. And I've been working on it for like 4 years. It's just about ready to pop out. But, what I've found is that as clear as you can be about what story can do at the root of design as a driver, most and many people don't understand that. Even people at Disney sometimes, and people that I've worked with in the university setting who are supposed to know these things. So I had to write the book because it was driving me nuts. It's not very complex to understand what it means. Now, how to do it and create something amazing and fantastic and new and interesting and exciting, that's not easy. But
Right.
applying story is not difficult. We've been doing it since the dawn of man, you know.
Yes.
It's the same thing, anything that we've done in the history of culture and society is story driven, right? That's how we learn about past cultures. What did they leave behind? Oh, look at this, object. And what is, like we just cracked the Mayan code, I think in 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now we can read all those little glyphs. And then I saw this one show about it, and there's a little cup with this beautiful engraving, all that sort of pictorial writing that is a language of sorts. And all it says on there is, "This is Joe's cup," you know. you
And
know,
it,
so it's like, it's such a amazing world to explore, and culturally and socially, how stories drive everything from religion to art to architecture. So I think that that's what Disney availed in my life and in my knowledge base.
and then did you just say, okay, I wanted to go out on my own and make my own business, or
Yeah, I never, I lasted for whatever, how long was I at Disney? Officially, maybe like about 10 years I was there.
that's a long
Then,
time.
then, then we did, then I had my own office, mostly working with Disney, but also Universal and Warner Brothers and some of the other suspects in the LA area that do
Right.
theme design. But I was never cut out for the corporate world. I had to, and we had so much fun. Our office was a blast. We'd crank music and have a great time. And, we had wine Fridays, and all of my people that were in my office all went on actually to work with Disney, and because I trained them how to do this stuff. So, the business went up until 2008, which of course was extremely, there's a giant bridge to cross because it was just all kinds of weird stuff happened. But then I went back to school and got my degree, a master's in architecture, and started doing more teaching, which is equally as rewarding. I mean,
Isn't it?
it
Yeah.
really is. There's students that are really sharp, and that we have such great young people in this country, and we really need to teach them how to think, how to reason things out, how to be themselves, how to be brave, how to not be fearful, and just, so many of these important lessons, for some reason, are not being uh, sort of ingrained into these younger people by their parents. And I don't know why. But
Right.
when I took these students in, I'm like, look, I want you to draw that 20 times. And I don't care if it's the worst drawings you've ever done in your life. Just draw it 20 times. You know, or, why don't you just stop everything and just start all over? Oh my God, I can't do that. But, it's just, learning how to persevere through, you know, iterative adversity in life and in design are two really important things for people to get under their belt. Because you're going to learn all kinds of stuff when you get out of school. You're never going to learn everything you need to know to be
Right.
a designer in school, especially in a 2 year grad program, right?
Right.
Learning how to think is key, right?
That's awesome. Awesome insights. Awesome. Okay, my next question. What do you think hinders a lot of men today from reaching their full potential?
I think one of the most important things is to understand yourself. Like, you have to know who you are. You are not your job. You are not the money you have in the bank. You are not the car you drive. Um, and until you really nail that down, I think a lot of people push away this work that has to be internal work to develop yourself as who you are, and then go out in the world and do things. Because it's so much easier to just be yourself. It's so much more difficult to put on a face and act the part of whatever, a corporate.
I'm just going to say, people are afraid to be themselves today.
Yeah, because they're afraid to be judged. But the bottom line
Judged.
is what kind of life are you living if you're not true to yourself? Is just
Right.
horrible. And I think a
Right.
lot. I don't. I think that's systemic within the American culture specifically. Uh,
Hmm.
it's almost like an epidemic. We're so acculturated about what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be, why we're supposed to be doing what we're doing. What's important. I mean, you're blasted with this just a huge barrage of stuff all day, every day as a man, and then and you can't help but have to kind of chop away at it to find you.
Right.
But once you find that, like I tell my students, if you don't like the city, then do residential architecture.
Right.
You have to. If you don't really like being in a busy city, then commercial architecture might not be your gig. You have to understand who you are, and then you go out and do some things. And I think
Right.
that's one of the biggest problems is we are acculturated by the input and the feedback from our society that tells us what, how, when, where, and why. When in reality, that needs to come from the inside out, not from the
Yeah.
outside in.
Yeah. And social media doesn't help.
Oh, social media is just a mess. It's really not conducive to much of anything. I mean, it's entertaining, I guess,
You
uh,
got to,
but
like you said, know who you are and just put out the noise.
yeah,
Okay.
just focus on what it is you really care about. And you can only figure that out from the inside out. You can't. It's not something you can inject into your body from the outside world. It has to come from the inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. My next question, Greg, is for most men on the road to business or professional success, other areas of their life get sacrificed. What's been one of the areas of your life that has suffered, if there has been, and but what would you like to be successful now too? Where would you like to be
Um,
successful?
I just don't think I may be super blessed, but I don't think I sacrificed anything. I'm not. I don't. I usually, I will. I have gone through jobs and being employed here and there or whatever because I don't bend. I've never been good at that. I'm a Scorpio. I don't mess around. I don't mince words. I'm probably a little too verbal sometimes, but when the kettle's black, the kettle's black. I've never bent over backwards to try to please some kind of conditions or situations.
Okay.
So I mean, the only regrets might be that I got booted out of a few different career jobs, but I mean, I just went on to the next thing.
That made you stronger.
Well, yeah, I mean, you ever notice how people that have the very most difficult lives are usually strong people?
Mm-hmm.
Kids that have to persevere through parents breaking up and being poor and being, like my dad grew up dirt poor,
Right.
but he just like persevered and once he developed himself into himself and he worked his way through school, became a auto shop teacher, and he was content. I mean, he didn't have to. There was nothing to give up. You know.
Right. Awesome. So your social life when you were younger, your relationships, your health, nothing that was majorly sacrificed while you were doing your job.
No, I would say in architecture school, uh, but you're in your 20s, so you're way more resilient, right? But architecture school was hammering. I mean, it was. I never had a girlfriend in college. I didn't do too much partying. There was no time because
Yeah.
they had you, you know, pounded into those studios day and night. But that's where you form relationships with other people.
Right.
And I learned as much from my fellow students as I did from my instructors. So, I don't regret it at all. It's just that's what it was all about in school. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think I don't know. I really don't feel I have really no regrets. I you know
That is super. I mean, because I mean, you didn't, when you worked at Disney, did you have like a 40-hour work week, or did you just see
No.
that's, yeah. So you just went in when you wanted to, or what?
Well, I mean, it was the same kind of thing, you know. It's you know, that place puts the thumb screws on you. You know, you've got to perform. Now, if you can do your job quickly and easily, and you can be done with your assignment early, great. But that almost never happens. And then if it does, then they realize, hey, we can give you more.
Give you more.
So, so the thing is, you know, we would work. Yeah, I mean, we would average probably 50 hours a week. You know, and when it got super crazy, it could be way more than that. But the thing is when you're having a good time and you're enjoying the process
That's
and the people and the place and the project and the time just goes by. It's not like you're like sitting there watching your clock, waiting to, you know, to get out of there, right?
yeah.
I mean, the time just goes by. All of a sudden, you look up from your drawing board and you're like, "Oh my God, it's, you know, 7 o'clock at night. I guess I better go home." You know, so it was never one of these things that was you were forced to do it, but everyone was working hard, and that's just what we did. And again, it was fun. So it was, you
You
know,
know,
so it was
use that word so many times. I've seen in my podcast. I mean, that's been a major theme to most of the people who are successful that we're talking to, is that they don't view it as a job.
no,
You
no,
get
it's not.
up in the morning and you attack the day because it's a fun. I'm going to do something that I love and enjoy. Okay, I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, it's just if you're doing something you love, then you know, you get up and you're not dreading going to work. You're not sitting on Sunday night with your head in your hands going, "Oh my God, I gotta work tomorrow," you know.
I got Monday morning blues coming.
Yeah, or when you're really hating life, it's Sunday night blues because you know you got to hit it the next week or whatever. But
Right.
no, you know, I have to credit my parents because they were always supportive, always, always, always. You know, mistake after mistake after mistake. I've done like so many dumb things. I mean, I'm lucky to still be here on the planet for that matter, because I've
Wow.
crashed cars and motorcycles and go-karts and just done all kinds of stupid stuff. But they always continued to support me, so I think I always felt supported, even if I wasn't, you know, in an ideal condition. I knew there was the other side of it, right? And I think that's one of the things that people just they get deflated and defeated, and they just go, oh, I can't, you know, that's it, I can't do it. But you got to realize that there's just like that last little push, and then you're over the top, and
Right.
then you're jamming downhill, and everything's good. But you can't let them get you down, I guess is the thing.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. All right. My next question is, and this is a personal for me, curious. Where do you find yourself at most at peace?
Mm,
Is there something you do? Do you have a morning routine? Do you have a routine that makes you peaceful? I mean, or
I
is it just your job?
I can just sit on my porch and watch the birds. I mean, I'm very easily entertained. I've never been bored in my whole life. I don't even know what that feels like because I can just look at the sunlight or go for a walk, or, you know, I grew up on the beach. We just spent every day at the beach. That's all we did was swim in the ocean every day for, like, you know, from age 12 to when I left for college, you know.
Right.
So and we had surfing for PE at my high school, you know. So
You had surfing for PE.
so it was like, you know, it was just being in the water and nature, and, you know, it was
So
just
it's like you grew up in that type of atmosphere there almost your entire life, like being laid back
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just, I mean, how do you handle stress? Do you have, I mean, I'm sure we all have it in some form. How do you handle your stress?
You know, martinis work, you know. You know, I mean, I think I think once I realized that, you know, it's just a spinning ball of dust in space that we're hanging out on, that, you know, so what? You know, oops. So, you know, I don't think you can't just plow your head into the, it doesn't, putting your head face on the grindstone is just not worth it. Never.
Right.
I mean, if you have food to eat and you got a place to sleep at night that's warm and you have some family around, I mean, it's like you're already in a blessed state. There's people that
Right.
just don't even have that. Like,
Grateful. Be grateful.
yeah, I gotta be grateful. There's people that walk 5 miles for some fresh water every day.
Yeah.
The world is, and especially in this state, in this country, in the United States, I think we almost have it too good. Some people
Oh,
just don't appreciate it. It's like,
absolutely.
you
I
know,
totally agree with you, Greg.
yeah, it's like, if you had to dodge bombs and
Yeah.
whatever, bullets and,
Well,
if you were
we
starving to
say,
death, then, you'd have a little bit more appreciative
yes.
attitude.
One of my podcasts yesterday, I have a gentleman whose daughter lives in Israel, and their kids are just growing up. This is natural, mom and dad, a bomb shelter,
Yeah, it's such a shame.
and here we are, and we're just like, okay,
Yeah. We're complaining because there's a line that you have to stand in to get your, whatever, or there's traffic.
I know. Exactly. You are so great. All right. All right. If you were to give one piece of advice to other men that are on their journey to achieving success, what would it be?
Let's see. I would say, be true to yourself,
Yeah.
have
That's good.
patience with yourself. And if you have that, you'll have it with others. And don't be afraid to screw up because that's how you learn how to do things. I mean, I don't know anyone that learned how to walk without falling down on their face, right?
Oh my goodness.
Or,
And how many people went through different businesses without failure?
yeah, if you look at the history of all the famous people,
Yep.
Ford and Edison and, any of these people that managed to create amazing things. Oh my God, for every one thing they created, there's like thousands of failures. It's like, it's just for some reason, and I don't know when it happened, but in our culture, it's like you can't be wrong because that's terrible, and you can't fail because that's hideous and horrible, and you have to compare who you are to everyone else around you. Those
Yeah.
those three things, I would say, just get away from
Comparison,
all of that.
comparison, man.
Don't do those things
Yeah.
because
You know,
there's always someone above and below you. Always. There's always
yes.
someone more successful, more amazing, more talented, and smarter. And there's also someone who's struggling to just walk and doesn't, or someone who just, has a challenge or they're wheelchair bound or whatever. You just, they're homeless. So,
Right.
so the comparison thing is a huge fallacy. And the other one I would say is don't chase happiness. Happiness is externally driven.
That is
It,
awesome.
but joy is internally driven. So you can be joyful all day long, and it comes from the inside, and no one can take that from you. But if you're trying to be happy, then you're waiting for something to happen on the exterior surface of things to come to the inside to make you happy. So happiness is a trap, and the
Yeah.
word success is also a trap. I mean, if your goal is to sit on a porch swing and distill some whiskey, that could be success for you.
It's whatever you want to be.
If you
Think
want to
yourself.
be a multimillionaire and all you care about is money, you'll never be happy. You'll never be
Nope.
successful. You'll not
Well,
get.
they say all the time that the richest people aren't happy.
Oh yeah. No, believe me, as architect, I've worked for many wealthy people, and honestly, a lot of them are miserable. They're not really happy people. They're not joyful. They're under stress. They're always worried about their money. They don't know how to just play and have fun.
Yeah.
That's a sad state of affairs because that's the thing too that somehow in our culture we've been trained out of having fun and being playful as adults.
Right.
Like, man, oh man, what a bummer, right? That's not your way to live. You know.
Awesome. Well, Greg, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Okay, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on. Your insights and your stories. I mean, this is awesome. This is what I'm looking for in my podcast. Okay, it's going to help out my audience and the men on that watch it. Okay, reminder to everyone else listening: the show is brought to you by the Prime Performance Method. where I help high-performing men regain strength, energy, and confidence without sacrificing their careers. So if you're ready to get strong in your body as you are successful in your business, message me at John Fayocavitz on LinkedIn. Until the next episode, perform strong in all areas of your life.